I think we're live. Are we live? We're live. All right. Happy Sunday. All right, let's get this link posted in the group. Welcome, 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 everyone. We've got a lot to go over today. Live right now. Post. All right, if you're joining us, say hello. Hey, Fabrice. Good to see that you're joining us. Were you able to windsurf this week? How's it going? Let me adjust my mic. Get this all adjusted right. All right, did you guys sail? Who sailed? If you sailed, how was it? I sailed in Weissenhaus. It was cold, very, very, very cold. Hold on, I'm just adjusting this mic that doesn't want to stay still. All right, there we go. That should be. Oh, cool. We've got a whole bunch of you guys. York, Ridge, Eric, Leon, Pierre Francesco, Thomas. Yes, we are live. Sorry for the delay. All right, so Charlie, Tomas, what were you working on in freestyle, Tomas? Yeah, York, what were you working on in freestyle, and what are you working on in the waves? We've got a lot to go over. It's been a busy week. There's been lots of wind, which is exciting. I got on the water in John on the Baltic Sea in Germany. Posted a little video in the group. It was super cold. I wasn't really prepared for that in terms of my equipment, but I still had fun, even though it was definitely pushing the limits of my my cold weather gear. I borrowed a hood from a friend because I didn't really have my own hood. Borrowed some gloves. I've got pretty thin boots, which actually were fine. I was worried my boots were going to be too thin. I've got like 2 mil boots, but they were fine. Hey, Dom. All right, Jorg is working on the Upwind 360 for the Flocka. Sounds good. Flocka's a hard move. I had to learn it twice. Yeah, it's a hard move. I learned it and then I forgot it. And but it's a very fun move and it opens a lot. It's very good for your wave sailing as well once you do learn it. So good on you, York. Nice work. Ridge sailed Monday, big waves, bad wind, quit real quick. Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah. Well, it's good to get some starboard tack in there. I'm proud of you. I know it's hard, but like I've said before, it's how you get better. Sailing the other tack is really, really, really good for getting better overall on all sides. So right on. I'm just scrolling back to see where we're starting from. We've got a lot to go through. Okay, I think that this clip, I think we talked about that last week. Yeah, Pier Francesco, you sailed a bit, okay conditions. At least it's not cold on the Mediterranean. Good point. I'm ready for some not cold windsurfing. Yeah, right. You're liking starboard tack now? Cool. That's good to hear. Ragnar, no sailing this weekend, so Monday, snow and 2 to 4 degrees, cold hands and gloves. Yeah, I think a reduced diameter boom, skinny boom, really makes a difference. Jeff, how's it, Jeff? Yeah, it looks like from the video you posted, it looks like you guys are having some fun conditions. Whereas that, hey Max. Yeah, Tomas working on some difficult freestyle moves. Nice. Put some videos in the group if you can get some footage. Those sound pretty difficult. So right on. Greg, Cole, bump and jump session. Hey, Mert. Yeah, all right, cool. Let's just jump into it. We've got a good crew online. So I'm just gonna jump into the coaching. If you're just joining us, let me know about your session. If you sailed this week, if you didn't, what were you up to? Before we start, I guess I'll go over a little bit what I was up to. I sailed on Monday, super cold but fun sailing. Posted a video of that. I can go through that on the stream. I think there was a question about it. In terms of coaching content, I've got an announcement to make for anyone who's wanting to learn the forward loop. So I'm doing a beta test, beta course. So it's like a test run course for a forward loop course that I'm going to release in the summer. So it's for people who don't know how to loop and want to learn how to do a forward loop, just for forward loop. So if you just go to learntoloop.com and there's an application to join the course. So it's for anyone who doesn't know how to loop and wants to learn how to loop. I'll do a post in the group. We don't have to talk about it that much on the stream, and if you've got questions, we can post that in the group, and then it's a little bit easier for everyone else to see the questions and see my responses, so we can have that discussion in the group. Hey John. Right, so let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. We've got this question from Jorg about the Insta360 versus the GoPro. I'm happy with my Insta360 other than the remote. The remote doesn't seem to work, and that's frustrating for some of the mounts. Some of the mounts have it close enough that you can reach up and turn it off and on. And yeah, otherwise, the harness mount is frustrating with the remote not working. All right, Jan, you're doing some forwards, right on. Yeah, it's been interesting. I've been working on putting this course together, and I've still got a few things to finish up, but it's been interesting to really do this deep dive into the process of learning the forwards, and I've been enjoying it, and hopefully it's effective for you guys for learning how to loop if you can't loop already. But John, one of the things that I think is interesting with respect to what you're saying about the ramps is that the forward loop is really, it's a different kind of takeoff than a normal jump. And so you don't, unless you're doing a delayed forward, but when you're learning the forward, you've got to kind of unlearn some of the aspects of jumping, which I think can hang some people up. And it can be great to learn it off of no ramps, because then you don't have that muscle memory from thinking about what you have to do to jump that then screws up how you're doing the forward, which I think can really affect advanced windsurfers that are trying to learn the forward. So they're advanced, but they haven't yet learned the forward, and so they have all this muscle memory about how to do jumps, and that is actually screwing them up, because the forward is very different than how you would do a normal jump. It's not like a normal jump at all. All right. So let us know how your journey goes as well with whatever camera you end up getting. Of course, we want to see your footage, but also let us know about how you like the camera. Like I said, I'm happy with the Insta360. I think the GoPro is also good. We've had a lot of posts in the group over the last 2 weeks about different mounts that people are using, and that's pretty exciting. There's a lot of good resources in the Facebook group at the moment for mounts and cameras. So right on, let us know how it goes. Jorgen posted about this board and setting it up. So he had a bit of difficulty with his first setup and experimented with some different things to get it to work. I remember when we were developing these boards, some of the testers really loved them and some of them didn't. I was actually more in the middle. I had some sessions I really enjoyed, and then some sessions I didn't like. and otherwise there's a bit more love-hate in the group. They do some cool things. From what I remember, and this is a few years since we were developing these, I think you need to ride pretty far back on the board, and then you're really on your back foot as well, like really back foot riding. You don't want to be forward on the rail, and then the board will really slow down. More static noise. I can move the camera or the mic closer. My computer is pretty loud, which is maybe the static that you're hearing. Let me know if that. Here, I can move the mic closer. Oops, mic just fell down. Ugh. All right, let me just quickly readjust the mic. I'm gonna put it over on my side and see if that is better for you guys. Let me know if the sound is better as I'm moving this. And hey, Carl, a couple sessions this week, nice down the line condition on the big North Sea swell freestyle session. Cool, man. That sounds really good. All right, I'm just trying to get this mic. This is the new mic stand. Let me know if this is better. All right, is that not working? Hold on. Okay. How's that? Is that better? Is that better? There, I've moved it a little bit closer and a little bit farther away from my computer. I can adjust myself a little bit this way, so I'm talking more into the mic. Let me know if that is sounding better. All right, I hope that's sounding better. Anyway, Jorgen, let us know how it goes with these boards. Like I said, I think you need to be more back on the board. So you want to set up the mass base pretty far back, and you're also on your back foot. And again, these boards were kind of love or hate, but they do some really cool things, and they're pretty fun boards. And I think especially in the onshore conditions, they can work really well. Especially good for tricks if you're trying to do takas or goiters, or yeah, I also really like them for the jumping. All right, moving on, we've got more advice about setup. So this is from Tom. Thanks, Tom. Great insight. So anyone that's working on their POV footage with a GoPro or an Insta360 or whatever it is, here's another post about the different setup option, which looks pretty good. We've got a question from Mark about the difference in turn radius between a true waveboard and a FreeWave board. So this is a bit of a controversial topic, or not controversial, but I'm worried that I'm going to sound controversial with what I'm going to say next, which is that I think a freestyle waveboard is a misnomer. It's not a freestyle board and it's not a waveboard. It's a kind of free ride board more than anything else. That's made for bump and jump conditions and for blasting around, a really free kind of blasting around board, but it's not made for doing freestyle tricks, and it's not made for riding waves. In general, the freestyle waveboards that I've encountered on the market. Now, there could be exceptions to that. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's my 2 cents about freestyle waveboards. So they can be great for bump and jump conditions. They're what you want if you want just kind of a lively board for going around in kind of flat water on a lake, in chop, maybe on a river. But for actually riding waves, you generally want to get a waveboard, whether that's the onshore board or the more like a radical waveboard. A lot of those labels have to do with how quickly a board gets planing. And how much it keeps the speed. So for the different kind of waves, you want to have more or less rocker. So at Hokipa, where we have a really powerful wave with a shape like this, you know, it's got that C shape, you want to have a lot of rocker, and then when the board's on the rail, it can accelerate in that shape of the wave. And a straighter rocker board will actually slow down, or it feels like it's slowing down when you're on the rail on a wave like that. Or maybe it's just slowing down on the rail at any time. But on a more mushy wave, you're not picking up as much speed from the wave, and you're spending more time flat on the board. And you want to have that flatter rocker, wider tail to pick up as much speed as you can to keep your speed on the wave. So that's kind of the main difference between like the Entre board and the Radical board. Radical board will have more rocker, will have a narrower tail, is kind of the main difference that you're going to see. And then there's other small differences as well working around that, but that is, you know, the core of the differences between an Entre board and a Radical wave board. Another thing that you'll notice is that the board designers, one of the things they're paying attention to, and one of the things the testers are paying attention to, is a lot of people want to start in the straps rather than starting with 1 foot in front of the straps and 1 foot between the straps, or even just one front foot in the straps and the back foot between the straps. And so there are some boards that are made just to get planing in that position, which then means that you're compromising and the board's not going to be as good on the wave. So there's nothing wrong with working up to that, right? We all are starting somewhere, we're all progressing, we're all somewhere else on the progression ladder. So if you need a board that will help you to get going, no problem, keep riding it. But then as you progress, recognize that, you know, if you're willing to put up with a little bit of discomfort, or not even discomfort, just doing more work once you set up on the board, and so you start out of the straps, wait till you get planing, then get in the straps, you're going to be able to get a board or ride a board that is more radical and that rides the wave better. It's easier to turn on the wave. So that's a little bit about boards. All right, here's my clip from Weissenhaus on Monday. Mark wanted me to go over some of the coaching on this, if I'm coaching myself. So I'm going to open that up, and we don't need it so big. Oops. Oops. All right. We're back. Sorry about that. Misclicked. All right. So, where's my chat? All right, there's the chat. All right. So, I'm just going to go over this quickly, and then we're going to keep getting into the coaching of everyone else. So, one of the things with these 360 cameras is they really flatten out the wave. And so you can see this with my wave, and you can also see it with the waves from some of the other posts in the group with the 360 cam. We'll get to those later. But anyway, so it really flattens out the wave, so it's difficult to see exactly what I'm looking at. Also, I'm really cold. So the thermometer on my car was reading 0 degrees Celsius. I'm overpowered on a 4.5. I forgot to put gloves on. I've got this heavy helmet, or heavy camera on my helmet sticking out from with a unicorn mount. And it took me a little bit to get used to the cold water, cold weather, cold conditions. And I didn't like sailing with the camera. So I sailed, I don't know how long, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Was not very long that I was actually filming with the camera. And, having to reach up and turn it off and on, and my fingers were numb, and it was difficult to record. So anyway, all of that is to say is that I'm not setting up here as diligently as I should. So you can see that I'm not looking around with my head. I'm kind of just sailing in. And one of the reasons for that is that I see this peak here. And so I see in front of me that there's a wave forming here. And so my plan is to go and get a backside turn, and then after that backside turn, go into a frontside turn on the wall of the wave. And so there I do a little backside aerial. So you can, again, I mean, this wave it looks flat from the angle, but it's actually maybe, I don't know, head high or something. And so I jam the sail up into my shins for the backside, like we talked about before. Jam the sail into the shins, and I'm leaning this way. I'm leaning into the pit of the wave, and then I'm able just to float as I push the sail forward. And that it's windy enough that gives me a bit of air, and so I'm in the air there, sheeting out, pushing the sail forward, catch again, and here I'm looking down at what's happening down the line, and I realize that it's not ready for me to go front side. So I'm looking down the line as I'm landing, realize it's not ready for me. I look up the line, I see that there's a section here, and so I get a little backside turn, and then I go right into the front side. And so something that you realize it, but it's hard to see in the video, is that this whole head high wave is walling up. And so I don't need to look behind me. I mean, maybe I should, but I can tell that it's a wall. And so I'm going, when I do my bottom trim, because I'm traveling so far up the line, I'm going to where I just was. And so I know what it looks like because I was just there, and I can see that the whole wave is starting to break. And so here I look, and so I realize, okay, it's good for me to go to that section, get into the bottom turn. I'm really focusing on turning my hips into the turn. So I've got this front knee pushing into the turn, and then really pushing. So you can see my upper body, which this is the case when it's so onshore like this, is kind of disconnected from my lower body, and the lower body from the harness kind of hides it, but kind of from the harness down, it's really twisted into the turn. So I'm really turning my hips into the turn, steering, staying on the rail, steering into the section, and focusing on getting that high five, and then just presenting the bottom of the board, pushing against it, and getting that tail throw, just a little tail throw, coming into the whitewater so we can watch that full speed. So if you've got any questions about that ride, it's not an amazing ride, but one that I happen to get video of, let me know. Ragnar, sorry to hear that the mount broke. I hope you didn't lose your camera. Shoot. This is a decurve, and this is actually a custom. It's pretty similar to the production, but it has a little bit more rocker. And I really like the production, actually. I really like the 2021 88, which I have, but I just didn't set up. So I've got this custom from last year, which has a bit of old graphics, but I like this board as well. But it's a decurve. It's very similar to the decurve, and I really like the production 88 decurve from this year. All right, moving on. I'll answer more questions in the chat, so if you've got questions about that wave, let me know. Otherwise, let's move on. We've got this post from Lars, where he's working on his starboard tack, which is his devil's tack, and looks super windy and kind of small waves, but good job, good effort, especially for a bad tack. All right, Lars, I'm going to point out, and everyone, I'm going to point out something that I really like, and then I've got one tip. So something that I really like, Lars, that you're actually doing more exaggerated than you do with wind from the left, and it's a really good thing to be doing, is that sail transition. So when you're coming up out of your bottom turn, Dum, are you talking about the clip I just posted in this clip? Let me know. It's one of the problems with this angle dom-dom is I think it's really difficult to see some of the perspective. And so I think like here, I am leaning into the turn on the toe side rail of the board. And so like, I think I've got my butt out here, 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 and here. And then at this point, I'm starting to transition. Like this point, I'm starting to transition to the cutback. And so then the hips are coming in. And so I think it's pretty similar to some of these other clips of me from Denmark, where I'm leaning like in this position forward with the butt out. And then as I start transitioning, this one I don't bring in the hips as much, but I think it's a pretty similar turn to that. I think I've got another one or two in here. I thought there was one I had that was pretty... Yeah, so I think maybe not, I'm not leaning in that turn as hard as this, but it's a pretty similar position. I'm not leaning as hard as this, but it's more similar to this than not. And then as I start coming up, then I'm bringing the hips in to transition. So I think it's pretty similar to this turn. But you lose a bit of the perspective with the way that the helmet cam distorts everything, because it's such a wide angle lens, and then the camera is also leaning over with me, but trying to keep the horizon level. So I don't know, it's doing weird things in terms of the perspective, which makes the coaching value a little bit difficult. But you can kind of see here what's going on. I think this clip is more onshore. The clip from Weissenhaus is more onshore than the other one. And so you have more of a transition moment. So like I'm doing my hard carve here as I'm entering the bottom turn, and I'm really leaning forward. I've got my butt out. I'm really leaning forward, and then I start, I don't know where it is, I start to kind of stand up more as I'm then transitioning to hit it. If that makes sense. It's tough with the way that the camera angle is. I wonder, I could go in and look at the 360 footage, because you can move it around. I wonder if there's a different angle that you can see it a bit better. I could try to do that right now, as long as it doesn't stress the computer out too much. If this is interesting for you guys. If it's not interesting, tell me and let's move on, because we don't need to spend too much time looking at my footage, unless it's interesting for you. So you guys tell me if it's interesting or not. Hey, Mateo. All right, so I've got to find the... I know this might take me too long to find where I have the raw footage. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna move on. I'll post it, but anyway, I think you guys have enough. I'm gonna move on. All right, let's watch this with Lars. So what I really like is going from the bottom turn to the cutback, he's moving the sail across his body, which you can see allows him to generate a lot of power into those cutbacks. I mean, it might even be that he's doing it too much, and that, Lars, you don't have to exaggerate it so much. But I really like that you're doing it. It looks dynamic. It's allowing you to do these really snappy transitions from your bottom turn to your cutback. I really like that second turn. You're on your rail. It's great little turn, great transition. I love that transition. I love it when you see a transition from the bottom turn to the cutback and you're accelerating in that transition. You're not losing speed. You're coming up with a nice S. I love that feeling and I love how it looks. And so this is a great job, Lars. So what I want you to focus on is getting that front leg bent. So if you look at it, you can see that the front leg is staying really straight, right? So your front leg is almost straight, your back leg is bent. And so what some of the people said in the comments, which is true, is that you're too far back. And while that might be true, I'm not sure how helpful that is as a feedback point. So what I would like you to think about is getting your hips rotated into the turn and then having both legs bent. So especially in these conditions, which look pretty side shore, you can have both legs bent about the same amount. And so really turn those hips into the turn. So at the moment your hips are facing kind of towards the nose of the board. And so if you have those hips rotated more into the turn, you'll get a more forward weighted turn. So we can watch the second one again, and it's the same issue where it's that front leg is really straight, which means that you've got all your pressure on your back foot. So what you really want to think about is turning your hips into the turn, So right now it's like your hips are facing the nose of the board and you're really just pushing on that back leg. But if the hips are turned into the turn, it forces you to be more equally distributed with your weight. And then you can really bend both knees and lean with your whole body into the turn rather than just with your back leg, which is what you're doing now. So good job with the sail transition. I really like that between the bottom turn and the cutback. What you need to focus on is getting those hips turned a bit more into the turn and getting that front leg bent so you can get some pressure on the front leg. All right, let's move on. All right, so Amir got hit by a fish. Funny video. I'm glad no one was hurt. I've heard of people getting pretty hurt from fish, getting hit by fish, like fish with pointy noses, and then you can get stuck in your leg. So I'm glad you didn't get hurt. All right, here's another GoPro setup from Jeff, and here's a video from a wave ride. So Jeff, I'm not sure if you're looking for coaching on this one. Both these clips look really nice. I like the conditions. Looks like really light wind, float and ride conditions. Good timing. Nice off the lip. I like this one. This is a great shot. It's a little bit tough with the distortion. So this is what I was talking about before, to really see what's happening with the wave, but it looks like your timing's really good. It's hard to tell how big the waves were, but it looks like your timing's good. You're getting up in there. You're getting that high five. It looks like you're a little bit over the lip rather than connecting directly with it, which is why you get hung up in the whitewater, but it still looks like a really nice turn from this angle. So the one thing I would say on this, I mean, it looks good. I'm not you get a thumbs up. If you wanted one comment, I would say just to focus a little bit more on that high five. So it looks like there was a power source, maybe it's like you're a little bit early for it. Like if you hit it here rather than where you're hitting it, you connect a bit better. Like you can see you're going just a little bit on top of it, but you've got your board angled really great. So yeah, it looks great. So that would be my one tip, is exact same everything angle, just right here rather than right here. So whatever that is, like half a meter more down the line, and you'd connect with this lip and it would give you that projection, maybe throw you into an aerial or throw you in front. It's really hard to see how big the wave is, but chest high, okay. Yeah, so I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense. Like, everything looks great. I love this. I love how smooth your turn is. It looks like you've got really clean rails, and it looks nice. But if you wanted to try something different, it would be connecting a little bit more, because you can see that you come up on top of it rather than getting that clean high five. And so we can even see here that there's more power in the wave right here, which is the section you just went over, rather than where you hit it. So just being super aware of where you're making those turns. Again, it's pretty hard to see exactly what's happening with the wave given the distortion, but I mean, we can see a lot of what you're doing, and that looks good. So here's another one. Beautiful conditions, beautiful day. Leaning forward, I like that. Moving the hands, nice. I mean, that looks solid. Again, like it's a different kind of turn, but it looks really solid. You're getting, again, clean lines. You know, I like that. I mean, you're a little bit early. You could have gone a little bit later for more of an off the lip, but I really like turns like this. I love how they feel as well when I do them myself, and then I think that this looks nice. You know, if I'm trying to find a comment, again, this gets a thumbs up, but if I'm trying to find a comment, I would say great, and then you're kind of pulling yourself up against the boom. You know, I'm not sure with the specifics. There might be a reason you need to get out of the turn, because it looks like the wave is kind of bowling up, and so maybe that's why you're trying to get out of it. But you can stay on that rail a little bit longer, and to do that, you want to hang on the boom more, and so you can really hang on the boom, let your butt drop down, and just really stay on the rail. So like you're on the rail, and then here you're already getting off the rail. So you can see with the spray on the other side, here, the wake on the other side, that you've kind of pulled yourself up, you put your hips in, and the board goes flat. And that might be to kind of outrace this lip. You know, you can see here that the nose hits, maybe you're scared of purling, you know, catching the nose and nose diving, which is also totally valid. But I think you could also stay on that rail and try and carve up into this section, and then, you know, when you're traveling across the wave rather than straight down it, you can be in more critical areas of the wave. It's hard to see from this angle exactly, you know, maybe you just had to get out of there. And it's a nice turn regardless, but that would be my note for this one, is you can stay on that rail, on that cutback rail a little bit longer, hang on it, sit on it, really push on those heels, and instead of coming straight here, try to wrap around as if you're trying to do a backside then on this section. You don't have to do that backside, but just that's kind of the feeling. And it's amazing once you really start focusing on doing carve and cutbacks, how long you can stay on that rail, how long you can stay on the cutback rail. You can really just lean on it, and it feels way too long. And so there's an adrenaline rush you get in doing it, because it feels like, oh, I'm too long on the rail. But you're not. And that's a really fun experience. So that would be something to work on. So those are two tips. Good mount. I think it looks great. I mean, yeah, it was a bit difficult to see some of what the wave's doing, but we can see what you're doing. And yeah, right on. Good for coaching. Good mounts. Yeah, Mateo, I'm just working my way up, so I'll get to yours once we're done with the rest. Brian, it's totally normal to chicken out. I think that it's important just to work your way up. And so when you're sailing in conditions where the waves are maybe 1 or 2 feet or 3 feet high, up to your waist, then you can hit the lip and get really comfortable hitting the lip in those conditions, and you don't hit it in other conditions. And then just work up, work up, work up. It's so important to recognize what you can commit to and what you can't. And so then you make sure that you're always committing. So no matter what you're doing, you can commit 100%. And having that awareness is really important. All right, moving on. Again, questions in the chat. Oh, Brian, I missed you had a 4-5 session in Vancouver. Nice. Nice to hear. Cool. I'd love to sail in Vancouver. There's a lot of places I want to sail, but that's up there. Deep dive into how to improve timing. All right, I'm going to write that down because that's something I need to think about before talking about it. I think that like wave selection, there's a lot that just comes from awareness. A lot of times we're not aware of these things, and so then we're not learning. But once you start being aware, your brain is picking up all these little micro elements of the wave that you might not be totally conscious of, but it starts with that awareness. And so really paying attention to what the wave looked like, realizing that timing is important, being conscious of your timing as you're setting up. One tip just off the top of my head, and then I'm going to move on, and I'm going to think about this I'll think about this and we'll come back to it. But one tip is that it's really important to look at the bottom of the wave. So actually, I think you can learn more about the bottom of the wave than from the top of the wave. And one of the things you want to look for is a smooth area where the water is bowling and there's tension in the water, surface tension is bowling, and you get that nice smooth, skateboard pool kind of look. And one, that's just a good place to turn. You're not going to have chop that's messing you up. But two, the water is doing that because there's power in the wave, and that's where the wave is about to break. And so even if the top of the wave looks like it's about to break, but it's got a line rather than that nice bowl, it's not going to break with a lot of power, or it might not break at all. And sometimes the top of the wave doesn't look like it's about to break, but you can see that bottom bowling up, and then okay, there's power there. I can do my bottom turn and come up, and there's going to be something there pushing against me. I might not be sure what exactly it is. But so anyway, so I look a lot at the bottom of the wave to know where to bottom turn. And then when I'm looking at the top of the wave, I think there's different approaches to riding a wave. If you're just like going down the line, or if you're going down backside, front side. And so you're looking for different things depending on how you're approaching that wave. But anyway, I'm going to come back to that. Great question. All right, so Kevin has a question about tacks, struggling with low wind tacking and jibing, sailing on his 89 liters. So tacks, this is something that we've also got to come back to because they're complicated. Tacks are complicated, but really important. In order to be a great wave sailor, you need to have good tacks because it keeps you upwind and allows you to turn around really quickly. So tacking is really important for wave sailing, and it's complicated. It's definitely complicated. I've got a video that I'll pull up from me doing some Lightwind tacks, and we'll go through them, and I'll mention a few things that hopefully help. I think there's a lot of different elements to the tack that do make them kind of complicated. So hold on, I'm just gonna find the right folder. Why can't I find it? Sorry. just prepare this. There we go. Okay, so I've got some tacks in here. If the file will open. All right, so, all right, here we go. So I'm going to talk about just some of the important aspects of the tack, some of my theories about tacking, and if you guys have any questions, ask away. So this is a Lightwind day at Kanaha. I'm on a 5.2 on an 88 liter board, which is a little bit less than what I weigh. So right off the bat, there's something I'm doing here that you don't see everyone doing. I think it helps a lot. There are people who do great tacks that don't hold the mast with their front hand, but for me, I think it really helps. I think it allows me to have a lot of control of the rig and what's going on. So that's how I would recommend learning how to tack, which is putting your front hand on the mast below the boom. I think it just gives you a lot of control. And then put the sail back. And the way that I like to, I'm out of the straps when I'm doing this. Also, Lightwind sailing, it's important to be out of the straps around the mast track. What I like to think of the sail movement as is sort of opening and closing the door. So here I'm opening the door, and so I'm pushing the sail back, which does two things. One is it's giving me space to move around the front of the board, and two, it's pulling or driving the rig up into the wind, which is of course an important element of the tack. So I'm pushing the sail back, and then I do a little sheet in. So you can see here, I'm sheeting in the sail there, giving it a little pump, which helps drive the board a little bit more up into the wind, and then also gives a little power to the sail, which provides more stability. The more power is in the sail, the more stability it's going to provide. And so then as I come across, I'm closing that door. And so I bring the sail from facing the tail of the board to the nose of the board. So closing that door and pushing against it. And it's really important that you find that balance over the board and you're getting backwinded. And then you can sheet in, push the nose of the board around on the new side. Mateo, if you can tack both sides, fine, and Lightwind in all conditions, it doesn't really matter how you're doing it. But I think if you're having trouble or if you're learning tacks fresh, this is how I would recommend doing it. And you know, now I can, like if you told me, oh, you have to go boom to boom, or you have to grab the mast with your other hand, I can do that. It's fine. But for learning and how I think is the easiest, that allows the most rig control, I think you should grab the mast. So then anyway, you come onto the new side and close that door, push against the sail. So you're really getting backwind for a while, stabilizing, and then sheet in again to go on the new side. All right, now I'm going to talk about the footwork. So that was about the sail work. Now let's talk about the footwork. I start, as I'm carving, with my foot. So here I'm like kind of, as I start carving, and then I move my front foot in front of the mast. As I'm moving the sail back, my back foot is between the straps. As I transition, that the new front foot comes right next to the mast. So it's not going towards the nose of the board. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that foot going too far forward on the nose of the board, which sinks the nose of the board, makes it hard to balance. So this foot, my new front foot, isn't going anywhere here. It's going right next to the mast. And you can see that I've got that foot turned out so that I can get it really tight up on the mast, and then that other foot goes and finds its place between the straps. Another important thing that I'm doing is when I'm going around the mast, I'm standing tall. So it can be good to get low as you're going into the tack, but once you're actually tacking, once you're rotating, you want to stand tall. You want all of your weight above the center line of the board. So look, I'm really standing tall. I'm standing up even. So I go from a more bent knee here to standing upright. And so my butt is not out. My butt is over my knees and it's over the center of the board, right? And then once I get to the new side, I can lean against the sail, kind of stick my butt out. And here, I think I do another tack again right away. So again, it's pushing the sail back, opening that door. The front foot is in front of the mast. Switch the feet. Stand tall at the transition. Bring the sail across, close that door. Sheet in, push the nose. I think we've got another tack coming up. So grab the mast, open the door, create the space for you to come around. Close the door once you get to the new side. And really stay upright. So I can be low as I'm going into it, but then once I start moving around, I really stand upright. See, look at my hips come in. So I really straighten up so that the moment I'm going around, I'm really up and down, which helps keep the weight over the center of the board. And then once I get to the new side, I can push against the sail. And the way you want to push against the sail is you're closing that door, bring the sail forward towards the nose of the board, gives you that moment to stabilize, and then you can sheet out against it, come upright, sheet in, and get going. And I think we've got, thanks, John. I think we've got another one. So this one I've got a gust of wind, so it's a bit more speed. The other ones, there's really not much wind. So again, really opening that door, standing up straight. Like, look, I'm over my hips there. So I think that really helps. You don't want to be moving around the mast like this with your butt out or your legs bent. You want to really straighten up as you're going around the mast. And then that opening and closing the door with the sail is, I think, also really helpful. All right, yeah, that's it. All right, so those are some tips, Kevin. I hope they're helpful. Tacks are complicated, so give yourself time to learn them. All right, Richard, we've got some more starboard tack from you. Nice. Starting to like the devil's tack. Yeah, good rail engagement. It's hard to see with this angle exactly what's happening with the waves, but it does look better. Yeah, it's hard to see. It's hard to see. Like here, I can't really tell where the wave is, which is just from this angle from these cameras. But so it's a little bit hard to give the coaching, but it looks better, and I think you know what to work in. You're getting some good hand movement. It looks like, here you're coming up from the cutback. You're much closer together. One thing you could work on is moving the sail more across your body in the transition from the bottom turn to the cutback. So from this stage to this stage, you could move it over a little bit over your body a bit, and see if that allows you to have a bit more power into the cutbacks. Oops, what happened? Sometimes Facebook crashes and we gotta start again. We've got 118 member requests, but none of these people have answered any of the questions. So if you have friends that want to join the Facebook group, and they haven't been let in, tell them to answer the questions. They've got to answer the questions, and then they'll be let in right away. So there's that. All right. Let's come on, Facebook. All right. So anyway, Richard, I hope that helps. But I'm really glad that you're feeling better, and yeah, those look good. So that's my one tip to work on, is that just that little transition. So just bringing that sail across your body, and see how that feels. This is funny. Thanks, Ragnar. All right, and Alex landed first back loops. Stoked, man. I love it, and he shared a bit of his journey. He's really got the right position, so you can really see from this photo that he's using his head to rotate. He's taken off into the wind. He's not hucking the rotation with his body. So right on, Alex. It's not a fluke. You've figured out the form. Good job. I'm proud of you. So right on. I want to see some more. I'm stoked. Back loops are hard though, so don't expect to just start landing 100% of them. It's a process, but this is the right process. You're on track. So cool, man. Right on. I want to see more. All right, Ragnar. Sorry to hear about the broken mount. I'm using the unicorn mount that Insta360 sells. You can find that on their website, and it provides a similar angle to this, and it works. It feels heavy on my head, which is a little uncomfortable, which you kind of get used to, but it works pretty well. That's how you get that kind of video game footage. All right, Mateo. So 4.7, 89 liters, not fully powered up. Went for stalled forward. All right, let's get this video bigger. Come on. So this is great, Mateo. I love also that you're getting, I guess is it your dad to film, and it looks like maybe it's from an iPhone or something. That's fine. I mean, it doesn't have to be super HD, amazing cameras. If you have someone with an iPhone that can film you just for 5 minutes, or, it helps if it's a windsurfer so they know when to film you. If you give it to someone, a significant other maybe, who doesn't know how to windsurf, they film just all the wrong moments. But if you can just give your phone to a windsurfer and be like, all right, just film me for 5 minutes. I'm going to catch 2 waves. That is so useful, having that footage. All right. So this is pretty far away. I'm not sure if you guys can see this through the live stream, but it looks solid, Mateo. Looks solid. It is pretty far away, so it's hard to say definitively, but it looks solid. What do you want to do different? So that will help me with my coaching. What do you want to do different? Are you trying to go higher? Are you trying to get a cleaner landing? I mean, the landing looks fine. It's a little wet, but I mean, overall, it's a nice rotation. So what are you trying to do different? Let me know what you're trying to do different, and I can give you some tips. If you're trying to go higher and get more stall, you want to take off more upwind. So you're taking off pretty far downwind. So you can take off more upwind, and then what you're doing is in the air, you're using your front hand to move the sail across your body. And what you're doing when you're doing that is you're putting pressure through your mast to the board, to the mast base, and pushing the nose of the board downwind. So you take off upwind, but you've got your mast here, and because you're bringing the mast over like this and pushing down on it, that's pushing the nose downwind and down, right? So like think of it, if this is your mast and you've jumped in the air and you're trying to use the mast to push the nose of the board downwind, how are you going to do it? You know, if you just push it down, that's not going to work. You know, you've got to bring it over like this and then push it, right? Does that concept make sense for the stalled forward? Dom, this might help you as well. I know you're working on this stalled forwards. So like that's what you're doing when you're bringing the mast over across your body. You're putting it in a position where then when you push down on it, you can drive the nose of your board downwind. So you take off upwind, and you're bringing the sail over, and what that is doing is you're pushing it to drive the nose downwind, and then you can just chill in that position. It's a really nice position to sit in, even with a lot of height. You know, it can be kind of scary if you're really high, but it's amazing how much control you have in that position. It's surprising. The first time you feel that locked in, stalled forward position, you're shocked at, wow, this is actually really comfortable. I can just sit here, and then you just, you know, you reach back. There's different techniques. Some people jump with the hands together and then reach back. Some people, you know, they jump with the hands kind of in the middle and then just pull in, and both work. I think the best technique is having the hands a bit closer together and then reaching back in the air, but it's also not 100% necessary to the move. So you're pushing the nose downwind by bringing the sail across the body, and then you're just, you know, looking back, sheeting in, completing the rotation. And it's almost like it depends kind of how it is, but you get like a little bit of a whip, but then you're kind of just floating, falling down, and yeah, they feel nice when you do them properly like that. So I hope that helps. That will help with your height and your control, and anyone else that's working on stalled forwards, that will also be helpful. All right, I think that's the last thing to comment on. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. What other housekeeping stuff do I have to go through? So we're going to do another one of these giveaways. I want to do it through YouTube. So I know there are some people following the YouTube that are not on Facebook, don't want to be on Facebook, which is fine. So the next giveaway is going to be more focused around YouTube, and I'm just kind of figuring out the best way to do that. I've got this Learn to Loop course. I'm going to post it in the Facebook community. There's a video I was finishing which didn't render in time, that another video I'm going to post in here. So yeah, there's some stuff coming. Pay attention to the group. All right, Mateo, you've got another comment. In that video, I was really underpowered, so I couldn't go higher. But before that move, I learned tabletop forward can be helpful or similar. Yeah, tabletop forwards are a great move. I think one difference with the tabletop forward is you can take off more downwind. And so sometimes when you take off downwind to do a stall forward, you end up doing kind of a tabletop forward, because it's hard to get that sail in that position to push the nose of the board more downwind into the rotation. So you end up kind of twisting your body more, which is why you see some stalled forwards that are a little bit like donkey kick forwards. That's one reason why. So yeah, tabletop forwards are great. Yeah, I mean, my only thing would be, I think even with the same power, you could go a little bit higher if you took off more upwind. But also, I understand that, if you're really underpowered, then that's difficult to get that boost. But looks good, looks solid. I want to see more video. I want to come sail in Italy to get a session together. It would be fun. All right, so I think that's it. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. I'll hang around for another minute or two. Otherwise, post them in the group. Photos, videos, questions, comments. You guys know the drill. I don't have to keep saying it. We've got a great discussion. I'm so proud of you guys. We've got such solid discussion going on in the group. Different opinions, different bits of advice, questions. Really, really great. Sweet, Max. Sounds good. Yep, I'm gonna post more of that as well in the group. And yeah, so that's it. Have a good rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you next week Sunday and in the group. So keep your eyes peeled. There's gonna be more stuff coming. If you're not a member of the group somehow and you want to be, it's Graham Ezzy's Windsurf Coaching Community on Facebook. You got to answer the questions if you want to join. All right, take care, everyone. Have a good windy week. All right. Cheers.